Sinks reporting so far. Maria, how did we get to this? He's poised to be potentially the first majority president in the post people power era in the Philippines. No, how did we get here?
Not for lack of any warning from Rappler, I must say. It's I think there's this great Milan Kundera quote. The struggle of man against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting.
Yeah.
And, because we had a woman president in 1986, the whole idea there was, let's unite. Again, we see these themes, let's unite. And they came back in 1991. The family came through. I went in when I was in 1987 when I was with CNN and waited 14 days in Hawaii to interview Imelda Marcos. And it was fascinating at that time period, right? Because you could see they really believed it was unjust, despite the wealth, despite the evidence. And, it was actually, the lies were coming out at that point in time about the war medals, everything that was. So, 1991, they come back. Slowly, the family members gain, they re-trigger all of the political ties that they've had slowly over time. I mean, Ilocos benefited for more than 21 years during that time period. So the base was always there. But the key thing that really is the spark that made this possible is technology.
Yeah.
And this is where, it is actually digital colonialism, because technology, social media, something we have pointed out repeatedly, allowed the lies to become facts. And Bongbong Marcos was one of the first adapters on YouTube in terms of how to engage. That kind of very innocuous statement, engage, right? So he engaged, and I don't know if you guys remember the Star Wars, Jedi. He's a Jedi, right? The lightsaber early on. And then what we saw was, a very concerted internet campaign that moved from YouTube, distribution on Facebook, that even though there are only 39 million now Filipino users on TikTok, he was one of the first there. And you ask Filipinos today, why are they voting? Because he's cool, he's so approachable. It plays to our emotions. And that helped break down the past. I called it democracy's death by 1,000 cuts. It is how journalists, the credibility of news organizations have been torn down, cut by cut by cut. So here we are, 36 years later. Not surprising now, right? We saw the disinformation, we flagged it. Please go on Rappler. Our social media team will push out all of the data that shows you how reality was changed in front of our eyes in a really nice way, with the help of the tech platforms. Facebook, the world's largest delivery platform for news, normalized it. And then after that, statistical surveys came in and measured the impact of that disinformation. And there were many of us who said, well, maybe the methodology of statistical surveys should shift, given that disinformation, that technology is such a spark and something completely new. Well, it turned out that it actually measured the impact of disinformation very well. And here we are today, the morning after. Did Filipinos vote with free will? Or were we insidiously manipulated on social media? And then I guess the last part of this is, I've said that this is an emblematic elections, because this is not just a Filipino problem. The information ecosystem is corrupted, and American social media platforms, and add now TikTok, they're the ones who benefit from manipulating our minds through a business model called surveillance capitalism. What happens now that the domino began to fall again? Because remember, in 2016, the Philippines was the first domino to fall in May with the election of Duterte. A month or so later, it was Brexit. Then we had all the other elections coming up. Trump in November, Bolsonaro after that, even had the Catalonia elections. And this was connected to Russian disinformation. I'll end with this one. Where we go, the world goes. And here's a few. There are 32 elections globally this year. After us, you have Kenya in August. That's Africa, right? Kenya that will be very impacted by what's happened in the United States with Roe versus Wade. You have Brazil in October, and you have the US in November, aside from all of these things. So it's time to do something about it. But, here in the Philippines, what do? Lenny Robredo said it, we accept it. The question is, did we have integrity of elections? And I'm not even talking about Comelec. Did we have free will?
Or is it a reflection of the algorithms that basically all these social media platforms run on? So
that's really been the premise of our research, that social media is now a behavior modification system.
We're also